Did you see the video of Biden at the debate in 2007 announcing that Barack Obama had an AIDS test?
I know Barack got tested for AIDS.
Remind me. The funniest video ever. Biden said, well, I think, AIDS is a real problem in the African American.
Yeah. You know what's, people will always talk about the Obama tan suit and how the right went crazy. This is such a hoax. The Obama tan suit controversy started with the New York Times writing about it.
History books promise to last, but the internet thrives on twists. One former president, two commentators, and a media cycle chasing drama collided, and suddenly, legacy felt flexible. Tucker Carlson and Gutfeld didn't change history, but they definitely poked at it until everyone noticed. What came next says less about politics and more about how quickly humor can shake authority.
That he's a Netflix producer, along with his hate-addled wife, Michelle. He's producing more racial division. The latest is called Leave the World Behind. It's a fictional thriller about the collapse of technology and what humans would do with no phones or computers.
A portion of a handwritten letter the former president sent to his then-college girlfriend, Alex McNear. Alex, back in 1982. He talked about his, quote, androgynous mind and wrote, and I'm quoting Obama here, I make love to men daily, but in the imagination.
The political world, already running like a reality show fueled by caffeine and grudges, suddenly leaned back and said, okay, let's get weird.
Michelle Obama surprised fans on our new podcast by saying her pet peeve about her husband is that he's chronically late. For example, we're still waiting on him to admit he's from Kenya. And as for Barack's pet peeve about Michelle, he's mad that she keeps leaving the toilet seat up. When she cleans it. When she cleans it.
I regret that.
Into this scene stepped Tucker Carlson and Gutfeld, not with torches or pitchforks, but with smirks, raised eyebrows, and the clear confidence of two people who knew the internet would handle most of the work for them.
Niall.
And I think we should all get AIDS tests. I mean, Barack Obama had an AIDS test.
I know Barack got tested for AIDS.
There's a cutaway of Obama being like, I hate you.
It's an important thing.
Then Biden's like, which is totally good. And I think he's negative, but I mean, all men should get an AIDS test.
There's no shame in being tested for AIDS.
Obama is so mad.
I just got to make clear, I got tested with Michelle.
The reaction that came next felt less like a debate and more like a food fight in tailored suits. Barack Obama, the former president known for calm precision and measured words, suddenly became the center of a storm that ran on exaggeration and wild storytelling.
Put their music on my iPod, but I'm not paying for their website.
Kennedy, just watching that now, so that was 2011. Him and Trump are saying exactly the same thing, but he's not saying it as well. It's like he wasn't having fun with it.
But it's like even the name of it, he was like, and we're going to call it the cost-cutting commission because Joe Biden is going to be in charge, and everyone knows you don't mess with Joe.
Right. Biden was put in charge of it.
Yeah. He was.
Yeah.
The buzz wasn't just disagreement or critique, it was full-on rhetorical demolition. Like words could leave scorch marks on history itself. What made it so captivating wasn't the content, but the clash of styles, colliding like apps forced to run on the same outdated phone. On one side was the polished statesman, calm, deliberate, and always composed. On the other, a pair of commentators who treated restraint as a dare and irony as an endless supply. The result wasn't destruction so much as a highly caffeinated show of interpretation, reaction, and loud amplification. The story quickly shifted from policy or principle into pure performance, where tone mattered more than footnotes and confidence raced far ahead of context. Carlson handled it with his classic look of constant disbelief, like he'd just realized common sense had quietly walked out without saying goodbye.
It was a family on vacation at a rental house, and one night they're visited by a father and a daughter who show up seeking shelter. They say their phones no longer work and they need a place to stay. So immediately the white family, because they're evil, that's included in their DNA of course, is suspicious of the visitors because they're black. And it goes on and on and on like this. Here's a clip.
I'm asking for you to remember that if the world falls apart, trust should not be doled out easily to anyone, especially white people.
Can't trust white people. They're evil. This is the guy, remember, who became famous at the Democratic Convention in 2004 by telling us there is no white America, there's no black America. It's just...
Meanwhile, Gutfeld acted like a late-night court jester, armed with punchlines sharp enough to slice through any attempt at seriousness, turning solemnity itself into the joke. Obama's carefully built persona, shaped over years of measured speech and calm intellect, suddenly got reframed through a lens that favored sarcasm over speeches and ridicule over respect. The message wasn't that policies were flawed or arguments weak. It was that the whole image deserved to be popped like an overinflated balloon drifting too close to the internet's humor. The audience, always craving spectacle, leaned in with full-on popcorn-level excitement. What happened next felt less like a clash of ideas and more like a remix culture moment, where past statements, public images, and cultural assumptions got mashed into a commentary smoothie nobody asked for, but everyone kept sipping. The commentary didn't claim to uncover hidden truths in the usual sense, but instead suggested that the truth had been hiding in plain sight, wearing a suit and hoping no one would notice the cracks under the polish.
Joey, it is kind of funny that they used to hate waste, but because they hate Trump more, they now love waste.
Yeah. I'm thinking the Fiddlin' Forsters was, I'm okay with that.
Yeah, I mean, compared to now.
I mean, over trans mice.
That's like wonderful. Now we have like trans porpoises in Uganda.
The only problem is under Trump, it's the Fiddlin' Forster. Because they fired all the others.
Yeah.
There's only one left. It's like, it's a forest. It's been there forever. Why do you need somebody to take care of it?
Yeah, now.
What made this so hard to look away from was Carlson's style, built on the art of the raised question, certainty hinted at but never spelled out, letting viewers fill in the gaps with whatever suspicions they've been carrying since the last election. Gutfeld's job was to take those suspicions, put them on a sarcasm treadmill, and speed it up until seriousness tumbled off, gasping for air. Together, they created a rhythm that felt less like a discussion and more like a stand-up routine wearing the disguise of commentary. Obama has long existed in that strange space between politician and cultural icon, which makes him prime for satire. Symbols are easier to poke than real people. The sharper the image, the more satisfying the caricature. And the internet has never met a caricature it didn't want to exaggerate until it buckled under its own weight. The commentary fed right into this, turning legacy into a punchline without ever spelling out the quiet parts. The humor didn't come from making something up, but from reframing what already existed with just enough irony to feel rebellious. Achievements were described as if applause had come too soon, intentions like they were written in invisible ink, and historical significance treated like an overproduced documentary begging for a laugh track.
By 2008, it was obvious to anybody who was paying attention that Barack Obama had a strange and highly creepy personal life. Yet nobody ever asked him about it. By that point, a leader's behavior within his own marriage, the core relationship of his life, had been declared irrelevant. It was Barack Obama's business, not yours.
But between him and Obama, it's real.
I remember Hunter Biden, who was my neighbor for many years, telling me more than once, when Biden was vice president, how much they despised Barack Obama. He despised.
What really kept people hooked was the way seriousness got flipped upside down and shaken until loose change fell out. The more dignified the subject, the more aggressively undignified the commentary became, like a reminder that no amount of eloquence is safe from full-volume sarcasm. The audience didn't tune in to learn something new. They tuned in for the thrill of watching a polished image get roughed up by relentless humor. Gutfeld thrived on the idea that reverence itself is suspicious, that anyone on a pedestal is just asking gravity to do its work. Carlson, meanwhile, leaned into the suggestion that Obama's narrative had been carefully curated, hinting that the gap between image and reality was wide enough to drive a convoy of skeptical viewers straight through. The commentary avoided blunt statements and instead relied on implication, which works best in a media world addicted to interpretation. By never spelling out conclusions, viewers felt like they had figured it out themselves, the oldest and most effective trick in persuasive storytelling. No one felt lectured, they were entertained into agreement, which is far more powerful. As clips spread, reactions multiplied faster than explanations, and outrage became a currency traded freely across platforms. Supporters cheered the audacity. Critics rolled their eyes so hard it was almost painful. And everyone else shared clips because, let's face it, conflict is the internet's favorite sport.
Sports rumors continue to escalate for the Obamas. Hopefully they can settle it like men. Meanwhile, current reporting has called his entire job and educational history into question. So who hired this guy? The head of the Des Moines School Board is Jackie Norris, Iowa Democratic candidate for senator and former chief of staff to none other than Michelle O. Her job, by the way, was to provide new phone books after Michelle would rip them in half.
The spectacle didn't grow because it had to, it grew because it could, feeding on attention like fire fueled by dry leaves and algorithmic oxygen. Obama's legacy, admired or criticized, has always felt permanent. But permanence is exactly what satire loves to challenge. The commentary suggested that no amount of historical framing can stop an image from being reinterpreted by those who ignore the rules of polite discourse. In that sense, the so-called destruction wasn't about tearing something down, it was a reminder that no narrative is ever truly settled. The irony was how predictable the outrage became, with each side reacting just as expected while blaming the other. Carlson didn't need to raise his voice. The reactions did it for him, creating a feedback loop where commentary sparked outrage and outrage confirmed the commentary's relevance. What made it almost theatrical was how it mixed political critique with entertainment logic, treating public figures as characters in an ongoing series rather than leaders. Obama wasn't being discussed as a policymaker or historian, but as a symbol whose contradictions could be mined endlessly for rhetorical effect. The seriousness of leadership was boiled down to talking points, ready for comedic dismantling.
Cy Hirsch piece, here's the cliff notes. Obama colludes with Nancy Pelosi and Hakeem Jeffries and Schumer. Sunday morning calls Biden and says, you're done. Kamala's gonna 25th Amendment you, and you gotta step aside.
And who places the call?
Obama.
Obama does.
So Obama calls the sitting president and tells him, you're done. Then tells Kamala Harris, you're gonna be the nominee, but if you don't gain traction, if you're not popular, we're gonna take you out too. I mean, it's all shocking. It sounds...
The humor worked because it wasn't just about cruelty, it came from contrast, showing the gap between how someone is presented and how that presentation can be seen through a less flattering lens. By turning confidence into arrogance and eloquence into performance, the commentary let viewers laugh not only at the figure, but also at the whole idea of political branding. Every point, no matter how small, circled back to the notion that managing an image is itself fair game for mockery, especially when it's been polished for too long. Greg made it clear, the longer an image goes unchallenged, the more satisfying it is to question it loudly. The exaggerated tone never claimed to be neutral or balanced. Instead, it leaned into the idea that entertainment matters more than agreement, and provoking reactions is a kind of success on its own. The audience wasn't asked to agree with everything. They were invited to enjoy the spectacle of someone refusing to treat power with reverence. As the roast spread and reactions piled up, the idea of destruction became symbolic, showing how satire can chip away at authority simply by ignoring its rules. Obama's carefully constructed image, built over years of speeches and symbolism, was reframed as just another story, open to reinterpretation by anyone with a platform, the sharp sense of humor capable of cutting through politeness.
5 words. Obama and Trump say what? Tyrus, Trump and Obama sat next to each other at Jimmy Carter's funeral. They appear to have buried the hatchet. What do you think they were saying?
Oh, I know what they were saying.
What?
Hey, two-term guy. What's up, two-term guy? How are you doing? I don't know, just doing my two-term thing. And Biden was in the front and Kamala was in the... And, oh, hey, I'm sorry, no term and one term.
The real brilliance of the commentary wasn't in what it said, but in how it said it, using humor as both shield and sword. By wrapping critique and sarcasm, it was easy to dismiss criticism as overreaction and hard to counter without seeming humorless. This gave the commentary an edge that traditional debate rarely reaches. Throughout the spectacle, the audience came out ahead, treated to political entertainment that required no homework and promised maximum amusement. Viewers didn't need to dig into policy or history to enjoy it. The humor worked on a cultural level, playing off shared perceptions rather than documented arguments. The exaggerated framing also reminded everyone that public figures live in a constant performance space where meaning is always being reshaped by the loudest voices. Obama's carefully maintained gravitas became just another prop in a media ecosystem built on contrast and irony. Carlson's approach was simple. Louder mockery meant more attention, fueling the cycle. As the dust settled, the conversation moved on, leaving clips, reactions, and think pieces trying to explain it all. But the meaning wasn't the point. The goal had already been achieved: grab attention, provoke reactions, and show that satire is one of the sharpest tools for reshaping perception.
In fact, the 25th Amendment is worthy of being invoked.
Yes.
If his condition is such that it needs to be invoked and then they don't invoke it, then they're leaving the country in a precarious position of being led by a man not in possession of his faculties. If, on the other hand, it's not worthy of being invoked, then they've used an extortive threat.
Yes.
To oust the guy who's at the top of the ticket, who's the current incumbent president. That's not okay. I'm pretty sure that qualifies in some way as extortion.
In the end, the so-called destruction wasn't a single event, but a moment, a snapshot of how modern commentary blurs the line between critique and comedy until the difference barely matters. Carlson and Gutfeld never had to land a knockout blow. The spectacle itself became the message. Quietly, it suggested that no public image or carefully guarded legacy is immune to reinterpretation when approached with enough confidence, irony, and unapologetic sarcasm. The performance mattered more than the verdict, and tone carried more weight than any conclusion ever could. What unfolded wasn't about settling debates, but about reshaping perception in real time, with humor serving as the most effective vehicle for skepticism. The commentary didn't aim to replace one narrative with another. It loosened the screws on a story long treated as fixed and untouchable. By turning seriousness into comedy, the exchange reinforced the idea that authority becomes fragile the moment it's no longer taken at face value. The audience, trained by years of nonstop media cycles, quickly moved on to the next controversy, the next clip, and the next viral moment, carrying with them the familiar satisfaction of witnessing another chapter in the endlessly recycled drama of political theater. And the laughter lingered far longer than the arguments ever could, often achieving what serious debate rarely does, leaving a lasting impression without pretending to provide final answers or permanent resolutions.